This is the Friday Rugby Preview on Borders Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome. I'm Stuart Cameron. Welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview. With me this week is Purdie, previewing the weekend's fixtures involving Borders teams. And as always, we start with our main commentary match tomorrow between Hawick and Edinburgh Accies in the Premiership. It's first against third, and the Greens still very much unbeaten. Now, they've had the Bill McLaren Shield since the start of the season, but Accies gave them a very good contest early in the season, and no doubt they'll be up for this one as well. So without further ado, let's hear from Hawick head coach who's just arrived back from Dubai, and that is Matty Douglas.
I know the boys were frustrated with the performance at Musselburgh last week. You could tell after the game, but look, at times we played really well. I thought first half we dealt with the conditions. Musselburgh came out strongly, scoring a quick try, and look, it was an easy 25-30 point wind playing into, and to go in a couple of points down at half time wasn't the end of the world, and we just really never kicked on into the second half. Plan was to play in the area, start to get a bit dominant at set piece. Times we done that, but credit to Musselburgh, they put in a huge performance, and they really put us under pressure. But you're going to get games like that, and the big thing for us is that we were able to see the game out in what was a dogfight in the second half, and sometimes you need games like that to just have a bit of reality check, and shows that complacency can't set in. But credit to the players, that it was a massive win on the road, and look, it sets us up nicely coming into Accies this week, who are in form. Had a massive win against Purdie at home last week, and look, they'll be coming to Mansfield with a point to prove. And I think the big thing for us is that we keep winning and we keep building into the new year. I think the big change this season to last year was that we're in charge of our own fate, and the goal is top four. The playoffs is a goal, but looking at it now, top two, home semi-final is what we want, and it'd be great to finish top of the pile. But top two, home semi-final is the target, and look, that's what we're building towards. And there's a lot of people want us to slip up. That's what happens when you're top of the table unbeaten, but the players are starting to thrive off that. And look, the pressure, we're starting to deal with the pressure a lot better, and this week's massive for us. There's only 6 games to go until the playoffs, so it's crucial we keep the momentum going. And there's a lot of players putting their hand up for selection, and look, it's a tough squad to get in at the minute, and there's a lot of quality players again missing out this week. Everybody's driving each other, and it means there's players knocking at the door every week, and the players that are in that 20 need to perform, and the performances have to come at training and in games. Is there somebody wanting that jersey that's no making the squad? So team news this week, a few changes in the forward pack. So the pack is as follows: Sean Muir, Fraser Rennick, Nicky Little make up the front row, Dalton Redpath and Daniel Sudden in the middle row. In the back row is Callum Rennick, Connor Sutherland and Jay Linton returns after missing the last 4 weeks due to injury. Backline stays the same, which is great to see, getting a bit of consistency and trying to build some partnerships there. On the bench is Ross Graham, Tom Hope, Stuart Graham, Hector Patterson and Bailey Donaldson. So it's a massive game, first v third, what more could you want? And we're going to have to perform for 80 minutes and start to build an 80 minute performance. And I feel if we get that right and fix the little things that we got wrong last Saturday, then hopefully we'll be on the right side of the result and we'll be ready to go come 2 o'clock on Saturday.
So Robin, Accies missed out on beating Hawick right at the start of the season. They'll be coming down with some real intent.
Yeah, they will. Hawick dogged that one out up there, and fair play to them. That was a really good result for Accies against Purdie last weekend, after Purdie turned them over so heavily the weekend before. So yeah, they'll be coming down with a bit of confidence. We seen them come to Selkirk and turn Selkirk over, which possibly was unexpected. There had a few boys missing that day, the Accies as well. So yeah, they'll feel confident coming down the road. But Matty just listed that Hawick pack there. That is going to take some going over by, you're going to have a very, very good day up front to turn that 8 over. And with that in mind, I think the Hawick bus will rumble on this weekend. I don't see it being a cricket score, but it doesn't need to be a cricket score for Hawick. They are the top dogs. They are in command at the top of the table, and Matty's right. They just need wins now. if something spectacular happened and Accies came away with 5 points, then it closes the gap in terms of a home semi, and Accies put themselves back in contention for one of those. But yeah, I can't see anything other than a Hawick win. They just have a great squad, and yeah, I think they can beat anybody on their day, as they've proven all season, home or away, and I think they'll come up with the spoils again this weekend. And
a reminder that all Hawick games are going to be kicking off at 2 p.m. in the winter instead of 3 o'clock, and Dale Clancy and Nicky Walker in the commentary box tomorrow. Also in the Premiership, Selkirk are at home to bottom club Musselburgh, but as Hawick found out last week, despite being at the foot of the table, they can play some good rugby, and head coach Scott White certainly isn't taking them for granted.
To take 9 points out of 10 against Jed, border rivals, has been really positive. This week, obviously, focus shifts to Musselburgh, who we are fully aware that they're very dangerous, having pushed obviously Hawick very close at the weekend. And the reality is, and the message I'm giving, obviously Musselburgh will be desperate every week at the moment to pick up points to obviously survive in the top flight of Scottish rugby. This week, obviously there's a few boys unavailable. Craig Jackson, Alan Ferry, Zen, Swergaski is all unavailable. And there's obviously a couple of late fitness tests this week as well in the camp. So selection is going to be difficult, and making sure that we get that right. But also, it'll test the squad and it'll show us exactly where we are. Obviously, the ambition is obviously finishing in top 4. So it's important that our home form obviously gets up to speed, especially with our away form being so good. So we realise the importance of this week and staying ahead of the kind of chasing pack. And we're obviously well aware that obviously Edinburgh has come down at Hawick, so there could be some movement in the top 4 this week. But I think first and foremost we've got to concentrate on ourselves, and we're still looking for this kind of consistent 80 minutes. Obviously it's very hard to be on the pulse for every minute 80 minutes, but it's important that we're competitive throughout the whole game. So that remains a focus for us, and it's obviously a challenge we're looking forward to this weekend.
Well, on paper, a home win on a muddy, damp pitch against a Souters side with several key changes. Different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I was at Jed v Selkirk last week, and both Ferry and Craig Jackson I thought were absolutely outstanding. Ferry's been a revelation, as you'd expect him to be. He's a Super Six player, but he's been a revelation since he came through the door at Selkirk, and Jackson was absolutely outstanding, to be quite frank about it. If there is a game where those boys are not going to be in attendance, then you hope it's at home against the team that's at the bottom of the table. Obviously, the table doesn't lie. Musselburgh have probably picked up a wee bit, but Selkirk have got a great squad, as we seem to see every week. They recruited exceptionally well at the start of the season. They've recruited exceptionally well in terms of Super Six finishing up and draft players, etc., etc. So yeah, even with the names that Scott mentioned that are out, Zen, who I think's been a revelation as well since he came through last season, they should still have enough against Musselburgh, and I'd be surprised if it was anything other than a home win, and I think in their heart of hearts they'll be hoping for 5 points from that as well, and that's to take nothing away from Musselburgh. Like I say, they've improved in recent times, it would appear.
And he made a good point as well, doesn't he? I mean, Musselburgh are now desperate for every game for getting points, and they got one back over Jed Forest last week. If that continues, they're going to get close. Yeah,
like I say, I think they've been improving. The gap at the bottom now to Jed is 8 points, so that's a couple of wins, and Musselburgh play Jed at home. I think it's a fortnight tomorrow. So yeah, Jed could, who we'll come on to, could just start to think about putting together some points to pull away from Musselburgh. Musselburgh will be going into every single game now absolutely leaving nothing out there.
And they've got nothing to lose now.
Oh no, they might as well throw absolutely everything at it, because they need to chalk up some W's, and they need them fairly quickly. But yeah, they'll still be scrapping. They're not going to go down without a fight, that's for sure. Proud club.
Well, also in the Premiership, Jed Forest visit Glasgow Hawks, and despite a lot of good effort, Jed are finding points hard to come by. Here's head coach Andrew Brown.
So after last week, disappointing sort of result, another one that got away. Even though after a much better performance from the week before at Philiphaugh. But ultimately not good enough. A few things let us down. We weren't clinical enough at times, especially when we were in the red zone. We gave away too many penalties. We weren't disciplined enough when we were under pressure in our own 22. But there's loads of positives. We competed right through the game. Sadly, obviously, knocked on over the line with sort of 5-10 minutes to go. which would have gave us the lead and a try bonus point, and then to sort of obviously relinquish sort of 100 metres and give a penalty away, and then Selkirk kick the 3 points to take the bonus point away from us. So to come away with nothing from a fantastic performance from lads was fairly disheartening, but the performance was a good one. Scrummed good against what is a formidable front row with Selkirk. The 3 quarters played really well, and Gary Munro got the back line moving. We broke them down and made yards, and like I say, it was just clinical. We just weren't clinical enough at times, and that hurt us. This week, moving on to Hawks, we've kind of put ourselves in a position now where we need to be picking up points. Although we've played well the last few games against Curry and Hoyk and Selkirk, to come away with nothing is obviously hurting our points tally in the table. So these next 3 games running up to Christmas are massive for us. Obviously, it's a tough task going to be going away to Hawks, but yeah, we need to be coming away from these games with something to ensure our safety. There's a couple of changes this week. Our skipper's not available. Clark Skeldon's not available this week, which is going to be a massive miss. Obviously, he's one of the out-and-out performers so far this season. He always leads from the front, but the front row is the same. Second row, Andrew Sweeney will be sliding into the second row to start for Skelly. We've got a new signing this week, a guy called Ben Fotheringham, who joins the squad, and he'll be starting at 8. Gary Young and Ben McNeil will start on the flanks again. And then in the back lines, the only changes really is Lewis Young's not available, and so his brother Callum will fill in at fullback. And that's pretty much it. So there's only 2 changes really, which is good. Hopefully we'll get a bit of continuity going forward, and that'll help us hopefully secure a few points.
Well, sometimes it's not a case of how well you're playing, it's all about getting the points in the bag, and I suppose he would rather have a poor performance and come away with some points than a good performance with none.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and Jed were much improved last week against Selkirk, but you're right, they come away with nothing. I think, first of all, I'd like to extend my condolences to everybody at Jed. Yesterday's sad announcement of the passing of Jock Ormiston, who is an absolute club legend. What a guy to have in your club for so long. So that was sad news coming out of there, first of all, and I'm sure Jed will be going up to Glasgow this weekend with him in mind, looking to put on a performance and come away, as you say, with a point, 2 points. Something would be good for Jed, having not picked up a point maybe now for at least 3 weeks, probably 4 weeks. And they just need to, as I said last week, they just need to start to pick up some points again, and just have one eye on what's happening around them, because the other teams, GHA recently and Harriet's picked up a point last week. So yeah, Jed, it would be good if Jed were coming back along the M8 with something to show for their trip, even if it's just a point. But they'll be aiming for more than that, and rightly so. GHA turned over Glasgow Hawks a couple of weeks ago, and there's no reason that Jed can't do the same. Skeldon not being around is a blow, let's be honest about it, but that gives an opportunity for somebody else, and Skeldon can't carry the thing, if you like, every single week. Somebody else has to step up, and that opportunity is there for somebody this weekand.
Yes, and I'd like to add my own condolences as well, because that's Jim Thompson and Jock Ormiston are sadly no longer with us. Stalwarts of Jed Forest, always there with a big smile on the face, willing to help, both of them, all the time, and to have a double blow like that throughout the year is very, very sad news indeed. Well, let's go into National 1, and top of the table are still Kelso. We can hear now from Director of Rugby, Neil Hinnigan.
Aberdeen gave Kelso a close game at Poynter Park at the start of the season with a 20 points to 14 victory. So Aberdeen are, in our view, a pretty good team, and they certainly challenged us all the way to the 80th minute at Poynter, so we're expecting something similar. Obviously, they're in a dogfight at the moment with relegation, and last week wasn't their best result, so they're going to come out fighting, and we suspect, so going to have to be on our game. Last week was a good result at Ayr, but we can't get carried away or anything like that. Our first half still pretty poor, and we're a lot to work on and so on. So yeah, we're looking to go up there and certainly start the game like we finished last week. And changes to the team: Grant Shields drops out this week, and Jamie Gordon comes in for him in the squad, and that's the only squad change there is for this week. So It's an earlier kick-off as well. We kick off at 1:45 due to the light at Aberdeen and them not having lights, so brings its own challenges and so on, but we can't really have any excuses come Saturday. We're just going to have to be on it and try and get the victory up at Aberdeen.
Well, one thing's for sure, Neil's not getting carried away with the fact that they're top of the table, and that has to be a good thing. And I think, even into the final seconds of the last game of the season, he still won't believe that they're going to be title contenders.
Yeah, he's not going to believe it until the trophy is in somebody's hands, is Neil. But yeah, I think that's a good thing. They're not getting carried away. They've done exceptionally well. They've only lost one game all season. They really are a club going in the right direction, not just on the field, I would say, but off it as well. There's some really good people at the top there, and just everybody seems to be pulling in the same direction. Yeah, it's a long old trip up there. Grant Shields not being in any team in the amateur game in Scotland is going to have a slight impact, but they've got a strong squad. Kelso, as we've said about Hoyk, as we've said about Selkirk. So yeah, they will be going up there certainly to win the game, and I would think they'll be coming back down the road with a bonus point as well. Not to jinx it, Neil won't thank me for saying that, but again, as I keep saying every week, the table doesn't lie, and bonus points now are probably going to be a thing they're at the top of this particular league, and yeah, you need to be picking up bonus points against the teams at the foot of the table.
Well, Melrose welcomes Stirling County in what will be an emotionally charged game because of the very sad death of Doddy Weir just after the game last Saturday. Let's hear from head coach Bert Grigg.
Yeah, we welcome Stirling County down the road to the Greenyards this week. Obviously, start of the second half of the league season. We suffered that early opening day defeat up at Bridgehall, so there's definitely a sense of motivation there to make sure we right the wrongs for that early season performance. Look, last week there's no question that the result was fantastic. The probably the more pleasing thing for us as a coaching and management group was just around the performance and how the boys managed to, under a little bit of pressure, managed to come through the other side, and just the sort of process, didn't get flustered, and made sure that we got that result at the end of the day. And look, we're expecting the same from Stirling. They'll come out the blocks firing, and we've just got to be in the right mindset that we know that we can ride that wave and get the result come the end of the game. So look, a few changes in the squad. James O'Neill returns to Canada via Dubai Sevens. Elliot Ruffin comes into the starting 7 jersey. Doug and Donald Crawford are also both in Dubai with the 7. So Bruce Colvin returns to his more traditional position of scrum half. Luke Townsend comes into the number 10 jersey to allow Stuart Hutchison and Mitch Richardson to take up that centre partnership. Harry Mikowski, after impressing the last couple of weeks, he gets another start this week on the wing, alongside captain David Colvin and the electric James Brown on the other wing. It's going to be a bit of an emotional day at the club on Saturday for all the players, the supporters, and everyone connected to the club after the passing of Doddy Weir. So, look, we are aware of it, and we're hoping that we can put on a performance fitting for the great man and for his family.
Well, right across the country there will be a minute's silence for Doddy, and he's going to be on the minds of all the players and all the staff at Melrose tomorrow. Yeah,
absolutely, and some great words by Bert there. Melrose, yeah, they'll be looking to put on a show for that reason, among other reasons. There's a rugby match to win as well, although that's secondary in importance, obviously, to what's happened. Melrose last week were absolutely sensational. Performance, result, some of the tries they run in were simply fantastic. They are purring at the moment. You look at this particular fixture, it's going to be a 5-pointer. Let's be candidly honest about it, and rightly so. It would take a brave man to suggest anything else. Melrose are on the coattails now of Kelso. They're hunting Kelso down. There's still a lot of rugby to be played. Great result for Kelso as well last weekend. Not forget, possibly almost trumping Melrose's result, dare I say, going down to Millbrae and being 5 down at half time and still coming back for a win. I don't see Kelso, Melrose or Ayr dropping points to anybody now bar either themselves or possibly Gala. So it's probably going to come down to the playoffs, if you like, that they're going to have come down. Gala can potentially absolutely still have a say. They've got Ayr and Melrose still to play at home. They've got Poynter to go to. But yeah, it's going to be intriguing the second half of the season to see how this all pans out. But yeah, I don't see Melrose dropping anything to Stirling, and I don't see any of the other teams around them dropping any points to anybody bar themselves, like I say.
And what about their pack? Because they were inspired by your words last week, weren't they?
Oh, I think when Runciman came out the pack, to Mama, it looked like they had a less of a fear factor about them. Dare I say, less enforcers maybe in the ranks, and their Canadian Open side now. I think he's played his last game. He was a good player, and he looked like a tough boy as well. So yeah, I didn't mean anything derogatory by that. I said I didn't think they looked like they had the strongest pack in the top four. The proof of the pudding will be in the eating, Stuart, but they certainly were absolutely trend. I see the phrase in punditry banded around now, or I hear it marmalised, and they marmalised a pack on Saturday past there. But the proof of the pudding will be in the eating when the trophies are handed out at the end of the season, and possibly when there's a game in February down at Poynter. That will determine who's who, if you like. But all credit to Melrose. Can't say enough good things about them this week on the back of that result last week.
And you'll be down there, of course.
I will be.
Hopefully, if we can get everything working, we'll get second half commentary of that, because that's obviously a 3 o'clock kickoff, and we're down at Mansfield Park, which is now a 2 o'clock kickoff. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of extra rugby, and of course we're on air from 1:30 instead of 2 o'clock. So enjoy the build-up between 1:30 and 2 o'clock, and then the full commentary of Hawick against Edinburgh Accies, and then the second half commentary, all being well, Melrose against Stirling County. Well, also in National 1, Gala have to pick themselves up after last week and the week before at Ayr. Here's what head coach Stuart Johnson had to say.
Looking to bounce back this weekend after a really difficult weekend. We were honest with ourselves, we got beat by the better side last weekend. But it's a good thing about sport, we're back on it within 7 days, and we've got an opportunity to go out there and put a lot of the wrongs right from last weekend. In terms of team-wise, we've got picked up a few injuries, unfortunately. So Doug Weir comes into the forwards to start. Glenn McCrum comes back in, starting in the forwards, also in place of Josh Irvin and Taylor Wilson. Harris Rutherford comes back into the starting team. John Turnbull also back into the starting team after impressing for the seconds last weekend. And Russell Kerr's coming onto the bench again after impressing for the seconds, as with Sam Smith coming onto the bench as well. And Jack Williamson's back, also replacing Blair Reevely, who's away to Australia. So look, quite a few changes this week, but again, it's one of them things where we're looking for a reaction from the boys coming in. And as I say, the 4 boys coming in there in terms of Russell, John Turnbull, Sam Smith and Doug Weir, all have been impressing for the seconds. Doug Weir also impressing off the bench against Melrose, so they'll looking for these guys to come in and add something.
And it will be against Watsonians at Myerside. A good place for them to really regroup and get a good win.
Gala have obviously had a couple of heavy reversals, unfortunately, in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, they go to Myerside this weekend, and it's a good opportunity, you're right, to get back on the horse, so to speak. They need to get back on the horse, obviously. They don't need me to mention that. For Gala at the moment, there's a Liam Scott shaped hole, and there's a bigger hole. There's a 140 kg shaped hole in the form of Marius Tamasitis. He is a strike weapon on both sides of the ball, and I don't think it's any great coincidence that Gala have come unstuck a wee bit since he's not been in the team. I think he's injured at the moment. That he'd walk into any team in that division, and he'd walk into most teams in the division above, in my humble opinion as well. And he's proving to be a loss. But I think Gala will still absolutely have enough to come back down the road with the points on Saturday. Gala probably need a couple of snookers now, in all reality. Like I say, I don't see Melrose, Ayr or Kelso dropping points to anybody but each other or Gala. So Gala need probably to win every game and pick up a bonus in most of them as well, just with the nature of one going up. We say it every week. But they'll regroup Gala. There's a lot of good people there. There's a lot of good boys, and they'll be out this weekend looking to right some wrongs.
That would be our featured match, in fact, in a couple of weeks' time, on the 10th, in fact. So Gala against Ayr, and then, of course, they have to go to Poynter Park. And if they get a result there, who knows? They're back in the mix, that's for sure. Well, let's go into National 2. Peebles, now in third place, are at home to bottom club Hamilton. And here's head coach Ian Chisholm.
We're excited to get back to the Gates this weekend. We've had a really good week's training. We've got a lot of players who currently aren't playing for work or injuries. So we just need to try and do something a little bit different to engage these players and get them along. We let the players have a wee 15-minute chat just before we headed out after S&C on Tuesday, and they end up spending about half an hour chatting, and they came out bouncing and really positive and excited to get on with the training session. And we're excited about the squad that we're putting out this weekend. There's a few boys getting an opportunity that haven't featured for the first team yet. And that's not because we think it's going to be an easy performance against Hamilton, who are sitting in the lower ends of the table. Hamilton can play. They try to play a lot. They don't kick the ball an awful lot, and they've got some really strong runners, and their intent to move the ball out of contact is something I've got a lot of respect for. So we need to be on the ball, and we need to make sure that we're super organised and be really accurate around our shot selection and our decision making around the breakdown. The squad to take on Hamilton this weekend is Neil Hogarth, Lewis Copeland, John Gray, Jay Copeman, Cameron Pye. Rob Harrison moves back into the back row after having about 8 games in the centre for us. Murdo Anderson comes into the back row after a really good performance off the bench last weekend, and Finlay Sinclair, who finished the game against last Wade really strong. Caelan McKeever, another McKeever for you. He comes into the squad after a few good performances for the Reds, and he's somebody that I'm really excited to see have a go. Donald Anderson remains at 10, and Jack Harrison stays at 12, with youngster Frey McKeever moving to 13. Buster Davidson and James Dow coming at the wings, and David Collins moves from scrum half to fullback. Now DC, he's probably a more natural back three player. He covers the ground really well. He returns the ball really well. His ability to beat a man is superb, and he's always got that ambition to offload the ball when he's able to get his head through the contact and win the space in behind. So I'm really excited to see what DC can bring there. And look, the fact that we've had back row players and players who've never really played centre before, it's probably limited our ability to move the ball to the wider channels, and that's where we want to attack, so that we can move defences across the pitch and try and create disconnects on the way back. On the bench we have Andrew Brown, John Napier, Finlay Collins and Ewan Jackson. So again, they're all forwards, and that probably paints the picture for us as to where we are with backs. But look, excited for this weekend, and we'll take it from there.
Well, Berwick are up to 5th at the moment, and they travel to Newton Stuart, who are very tricky to beat at home. One of Berwick's coaches, Paul Pringle, looks forward now to that game.
So this week we make the long and difficult journey away to Newton Stuart. It's coming on the back of a really good performance last week against Preston Lodge, where the lads really clicked. What we've been working on training really came into effect. We had a really good performance. Unfortunately, this week we've had to make quite a few changes due to unavailability and a number of injuries. So at props, Stu Gilchrist comes in for Darren Goodfellow. We've got some movement in the pack as well, with Nathan Melrose moving from 7 into hooker. Ryan Wilson will move back into the second row, and Ewan Thompson moves back into open side. On the wings, we've got Aidan Creeley stepping up from the 2s to take over from Aidan Rosie, who's unavailable. Adam Hardy takes the other wing. Jack Dalrymple will move into the centre. Unfortunately, James Thompson suffered a finger injury last week. That's required an operation, so he's going to be missing for a number of weeks. On the bench, we've got Grant Maltman, the 2s captain, who's stepping up, and also Elliot Gray from the 2s will make up the bench. Newton Stuart's home record speaks for itself. But the lads that are stepping up from the 2s who've been going really well, we fully expect they'll make a big contribution. With all things being well, we'd hope to bring the points back to Skremerston.
Both Peebles and Berwick in the top half of the table, which is definitely where they want to be, because a lot of teams getting relegated.
Yeah, 5 teams going down from that division, so it's nip and tug, but as you say, it's great to see both of them in the upper echelons. Peebles will be looking to kick back on, I would have thought, back into those top 2 places, but yeah, neither of the teams have particularly easy looking fixtures this weekend.
Yeah, and of course Hamilton beat Berwick. I mean, it's one of those leagues that we've talked about all the time. Newton Stuart at home are different ball game to Newton Stewart away from home.
Oh yeah, that looks like seems like a very tricky place to go. So yeah, it's not going to be easy, but it's appearing that there's no particularly easy games in that division as it pans out into the second half of the season. And yeah, both of those teams, Peebles looking to kick on, and Berwick, well, no reason why Berwick can't kick on as well. But yeah, with 5 going down this season, and with Berwick just having come up from last season from the division below, then I think it'll be an exceptional effort by Berwick if they beat the drop, which, like I say, 5 teams, it's unfortunate, but it'll be great for Berwick if they can keep up there.
And in the mid-division, it's very, very competitive. Well, into East League 2, and Langham are still unbeaten, but their bogey side is Dunbar, and guess where they're going this week? Yes, they're going to Dunbar, and they put their 7-match winning streak on the line tomorrow. Let's get the thoughts of Langham captain Nathan Smith.
This weekend, we're up the road to Dunbar, where we'll be looking to extend our win streak to 8 games this season. Dunbar is somewhere we've struggled going to over the years. Some matches we've just fell short chasing at the end, and then other matches we've took off and had a great start and then fell off second half and lost the game that way. So we're hoping for a win, an away win this weekend, and get that monkey off our back. We know what Dunbar will bring. They've never really changed over the years, and even when we played them down at Langham this season, they're an extremely physical team and they play from anywhere. So you have to be on the ball for 80 minutes. You need an 80-minute performance to beat a team like Dunbar. Team-wise, we're missing a couple. Eddie and Adam haven't managed to recover from last week, so Stephen Nicol and Murray Rose will be coming in, both very experienced players, so I've no doubt there'll be no fall off there. They've both played a lot of rugby and they both know what they're doing, so I've no worries there. We've spoke about this week not thinking too much into it, about going away to Dunbar. There's been many bad days over the years with injuries, last minute losses and stuff like that, but I think what we said this week was that our mindset's completely different this year. The confidence, and we go into every week believing that we can win, so going up there this time, we've said just to not change anything, players we have every week this season, and hopefully we'll come out successful again.
Well, they should be strong enough, but previous bad experiences, as you mentioned, can be stuck in the mind, so they'll need to get over that, won't they?
Oh yeah, they will. It'll be a mindset thing going up there, and a lot can depend on the weather right on the coast there, how windy it might be, how wet it might be, but both really good clubs. Actually, Dunbar, always a thriving place to go, good social scene. But Langham, riding on the crest of a wave at the moment, and they will absolutely be looking to continue their unbeaten run, and if they can do that, then that's a great result up there.
Yes, we're down to 3 now in the Borders unbeaten. There's Hawick, obviously there's Langham, and there's Kelso ladies as well. Now Hawick Quins, of course, would then say to us, well, that was the bowl final, they're still unbeaten in the league, so we'll hang our hat on that as well. So we'll go 3.5 if you like. But also in East 2, Hawick Lindeen have steadily been improving, and they're at home to Dalkeith. Watching this one for us tomorrow will be former Lindeen president Gary Alexander.
We take on Dalkeith at the Volunteer Park on Saturday. Comes off the back of last week's game at Dunbar. It was a bit of a mixed bag for us. We gave away some cheap scores with some poor tackling. But on the other hand, we played some cracking rugby with some superb runs and play from deep in our own half. At the heart of that was Matthew Mallon, who had one of his best games for the Lindeen. Some superb runs. He scored a try. We almost scored again right at the death. It was a walk-in, but the pass didn't go to hand, and that had come right for deep in our own half. So some great rugby. We probably were a wee bit closer than the final score of 41-24 might suggest. So hopefully we can take the best bits out of that into this week against Dalkeith, who came up for East 3 last season. They had a great season, won all 12 of their games, picked up a try bonus in 11 of them, and we know they've got a big pack. It will be tough. On the downside, picked up a few knocks last week. Rory Graham was standoff. He got pulled a hammy, so he'll be out for a wee while. So we'll have a wee look at selection, who goes in at 10 this week. But as I say, if we can perform more like we did in the good bits from last week, then I think we can maybe get something out of this game again this week.
Well, into East 3, and we can hear from all our clubs in that division, starting with Stuart Walker from Gala YM, who talks about their home game against Inverleith.
We're going into Saturday after a fairly lengthy break, not having had much rugby for the last few weeks. In a way, it's been quite a positive for us. We've managed to get a few boys back from injury for this Saturday against Inverleith, which is going to help sort of bolster the squad again. We've had a few close run games this season where we could have come out on top, but we really need this victory on Saturday to kickstart the season again. And that's definitely the aim, and that's what the boys know we're looking to do. Be good to play at home again. It's been a while since we've had a home game, and we're all looking forward to it.
Well, Earlston, they're at home to Trinity Accies, and we can bring in Aaron Patterson now ahead of what will be an historic game between the two.
Another home game for Earlston this week, Trinity Accies. They are sitting very close to us in the league. It should be a very close game. This will be the first time we've ever played them, so we don't have a clue what they're going to be like. We're just going to turn up and we're going to play the rugby we know we can. We've got plenty of numbers this week, plenty on the bench, ready to come on and make an impact. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and we're going to see what the conditions are like first. But either way, we're going to try and play running rugby. Last weekend, we just fell short against Lismore. We weren't clinical enough and they took advantage of our ill discipline by kicking penalties. It was a close game and our defence was solid considering we defended for a good 50 minutes of that game. So we'll see what happens this weekend, and hopefully we'll go into Christmas with another win.
Well, the other home match involving a border side is at Wilton Lodge Park, involving Hoyt Quins and Edinburgh University Medics, a repeat of last week's bowl final. Here's Quins captain Adam Hall.
It's a good chance to get some revenge against the Medics this weekend at home. We picked up a couple of knocks last weekend in what was a pretty physical game. I'm sure the Medics were similar, so they might have to make a few changes coming down to Hoyt this week. But I'm sure it'll be a good game, and we hope we can keep our unbeaten run in the league going.
Yep, unbeaten in the league.
Yeah, and fair play to them. They'll be disappointed with that reversal, obviously, in the final last week. It might be a bit of a different team that comes down the road from Edinburgh this week. So here's hoping that the Quins can continue with their unbeaten status in the league.
Absolutely. Well, finally, a mention that the Kelso ladies game against Lismore is off, and Kelso have been awarded the points in Women's Caledonia West East Division 1. But they're still trying to actually get a rearranged game against, I think it's Kirsthofen Seconds, to fill that gap. That's a game which is supposed to be on December the 10th, but we'll certainly bring you information on that on the website at bordersrugby.net if that is the case. Well, that's just about it for today in a packed programme. Don't forget Borders Rugby Radio coming to you live from Mansfield Park tomorrow at 1:30. That's half an hour earlier than normal, and we finish at 5, so you get the full Monty plus an extra half hour. And of course, full commentary of Hoyk against Emiratis with Dale Clancy and Nicky Walker. And all being well, the second half commentary of Melrose against Stirling County from the Green Yards. So really looking forward to another Saturday afternoon on Borders Rugby Radio. But for now, from Robin and me, bye for now.